Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TRS Live with your hosts Brian Keller, Matt Schrotz, and Zach Hoffman, presented by The Real Shot.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Triune.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever. All you haters better get comfy. This the day you've been waiting on. Your road is finna get bumpy. This the track I'm making my statement on. I ain't going nowhere. This the place that I'm making home. I'll do this shit forever. Hit the gas and I'm taking off. Ow. I was born with passion. My job is never ending and my hustle's everlasting. No matter what, I'm gon' ball, even with my back to the wall. And the best part is that this is the beginning. I'ma do this here forever. Forever.
What is up?
Good morning.
Morning, Mark. How's it going?
Good, Brian.
Matt is here. He is in the building. Matt is in the building. We are trying to get a little creative with some cameras this morning. We're here talking about day 2 of the Great Whitetail catalog. And we're trying to get a camera set up in the range so we can actually go shoot some of these bows live.
Awesome.
That is the goal. Whether or not we have temperamental camera equipment, Zach.
Yeah, it seems that's the
Kinda,
case this morning.
Kind of the theme. It happens.
Be like that sometimes.
It's a thing. So.
But the good news is we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
And
we're working on it. We're trying. So Matt is on his way back. So we got Mark here today. Obviously, Mark is been with the store forever, right? We were just talking before. We were making a joke because Matt's saying he's, oh God, I'm feeling old. And I told Zach, I said, hey Zach, guess what? Mark's been here for like 9 years. He used to look like you. I'm just kidding.
Well, at least I still have some hair left, so I mean that's that's a positive. So.
Right. So, no, that's all awesome. So here we're going to talk about day 2. We're talking about the Whitetail catalog that we put together,
Which is awesome.
I agree.
I what a great piece of work.
It is awesome. I'm blown away by the whole thing. Every time I look at it, I just can't really grasp the concept that we did this.
It is, when you take a look at it, over the years and,
Right.
and how we've progressed and we've gotten to this point where you can actually open up that catalog and you take a look at all of the brands that we've developed,
It's
and the
unreal.
product it's phenomenal.
Yep, it's unreal. And and having Matthews and Hoyt and Bowtech now, and Matt's joining us. Way to go, Matt. I'm just kidding.
I fixed it.
Did you?
I think so.
Okay, your headset's not working, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not on.
Oh, now you are.
Here I am.
Now
Good
it's
morning.
working. Now we're going.
All right.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, we're just catching everybody up. We told them we were up in the range trying to
Yeah.
see if we couldn't get that camera to work. So maybe
Goal-
it's going to work, maybe it isn't.
Goal is to grab some of these bows, the crossbows especially, and get down to the range and shoot a couple. To Mark can comment while I'm down there shooting them. But yeah, I think that'd be a good piece. That was something Brian sprung on us on about 8:00 last night.
Yeah, it was a great idea.
So
Hey, I got an idea.
yeah, in TRS fashion.
That's just the way I roll.
Right.
Hey, you
So-
should try coaching with me once.
Yeah,
I get all sorts of cool ideas. I've drawn more plays up at halftime on the whiteboard that we've never repped before ever. It's just you got to go, right?
Right.
That's the big thing I think kids are missing nowadays is the ability to just go play
yeah.
and not have everything scripted,
Yep.
right? Just draw the play in the sand and go,
And go.
right? Like, I just think kids don't do that enough nowadays, and it's good to get them out of their comfort zone a little bit.
Right.
Absolutely.
Ready, set, go. So what we're doing here today, obviously, is the Whitetail catalog continued. We had a good one last week. We talked about everything up to the bow point of it. So Mark was kind enough to join us today, and like we talked about last week, we're going to have Steve in here next week to continue on the final chapter of the catalog and talk about gun stuff. But before we dive into the crossbow things, we left off last week, Brian, is you were going to sell the audience on the site on your Matthews
The
verdicts.
Zero site.
The Zero site.
The Garmin Zero.
It's right there.
It's right there.
It's
Where
right
is
there.
it? Right there.
Right there.
Yep.
So when you're done texting,
I know, I'm working.
it's like a 2-year-old, or it's like my kids.
I'm working.
Or my wife. I
I'm
got to
working.
be like,
I'm
okay.
always working.
I know.
There's no downtime.
So give us your 15-minute spiel, because like you got
15-minute, man, that's a lot of pressure.
Well, you can handle it. You just told us you draw up plays on the whiteboard in the locker room to take your team to state.
I put literally zero prep into this show, by the way. Matt does a ton of work. Zach does a ton of work. I just show up and talk.
Well,
that's the way he likes it.
I can't. But same thing. I like drawing stuff up in the sand.
Well, and like I heard you guys mention it as I was walking back in, we have hugely expanded our bow lines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, we picked up obviously Matthews, Hoyt. We got Bowtech. You still have Quality Prime. We still have some elite bows. We still have Bear and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the bread and butter 3 are what most of the staff is shooting.
Right.
You're shooting a Verdicts. I have a Hoyt RX3. Lance has got his all decked out here. He's got the SR6. Cool thing about Lance is right away is he has the fixed custom strings. That's our
a sweet looking.
Yeah, these are the custom strings that the Real Shop makes day in and day out. The name is Fix, PHYX. But that's why we wanted to bring Lance's bow in, plus the RX6. I mean, or the SR6 in this.
See, that's what. No, I shot that. Not what was the one last year?
The Realm.
The Realm. Okay, that's what I shot.
So this is
year.
the Realm, but it's just the generation next.
Okay.
Yep. A little more speedy to it.
Yep.
So, so the bows we carry are phenomenal.
Oh, it's all.
The
it's
accessories we carry are even better yet. But that sight that you have there is one that blew our minds when it first came out.
Because when it first came out, everyone's like, "Well, nobody's putting $1,000 sight on their bow."
Right.
I don't. What are the retails? Because there's 2 models of it, right?
Yep.
What are the 2 retails?
I think it's $899 and $999,
Right.
something like
Yes.
that. Yeah,
So
that
originally,
was
the first thing we're like,
expensive.
nobody's putting $1,000 sight on their bow. That is ridiculous.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. 'Cause
Right.
I like cool techie shit. Right. Like that's
Yeah.
my thing. Right.
Yep.
That's why we've got. How many cameras do we have in those?
A lot.
Right. We got like 10
Too
or.
many.
Well, there's 2 more sitting on the floor over
Right.
there.
We got all sorts of camera stuff going on around here. I love all this techie shit. Right.
Right.
We got more stuff in development. So I'm like, I want one. I want it on there. The biggest reason I wanted it on there was we talked about a couple shows ago. It was one of my biggest bucks to date. I almost didn't get, or I almost didn't have a shot at.
Yep.
And the reason being is that, for whatever reason, sometimes hunting comes down to divine intervention. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I said, I wonder how high I shoot at 20 yards with my 30-yard pin. Why did I think that?
Well, because before this, you've always been shooting a single
fixed pin.
Yep.
Yep.
Or a single adjustable.
Right.
Yep.
And I just wondered, well, you get a full draw with one of those HHA sights.
Yep.
You can't, I mean, if that buck's in within range, you can't let that bow down, and at least I can't. Maybe somebody's better than me that knows how to do that. But I'm not good enough to do that without making any noise or spooking that deer.
Right.
Especially like we've talked about in the past. You get that 5-year-old, that 4-year-old whitetail within 20 yards, that deer knows everything about that spot.
Yep.
This isn't the first time that deer's been there. He knows every tree, every branch, every twig. He knows it all.
Yep.
So you make some kind of weird noise, and that's not a good situation for
right.
you, right?
Well, and that's what you said before that deer came in is he just hit a
already-
spot. That's why you need a hex suit. So continue.
Anyway, so I said for whatever reason, I'm like, what? I want to know how high I'm at 20 with my 30-yard pin. Like, I have no idea why I did it, but I went out in my driveway at my cabin and I shot 20 yards with my 30-yard pin that night.
Yep.
Went out the next day. The buck came in. He was coming out at 30. Full draw. That's when I told you he stopped right at that little pine tree. Something just wasn't right. He started walking backwards and kind of he was going to bail out. So I stayed at full draw. This doe came charging in for God knows whatever reason. His immediate attention was off of whatever he knew was wrong, right? Because he was a step and a half from getting drilled.
Right. Right.
So like most men, doe came running in. He completely lost focus of what was happening.
Yep.
And he came in at 20 yards, broadside. So if I wouldn't have gotten lucky and done that the night before, now maybe that's something everybody should do. I don't know.
Yep.
But
How high did you shoot?
almost 6 inches.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to go almost at the bottom of his belly
Yep.
at 20 yards to, luckily I got it. And I still shot him a little high because I
Right.
still didn't go low
Well,
enough.
plus the angle of the tree
Right,
stand.
and I think that's where the extra height came from.
Yep.
So that led, when this thing came out, I was like, I want it.
Yep.
I got to see what this is all about. So how this works is it's a rangefinder and a sight all in one. Now, when you say $1,000, you got to remember, how much is your rangefinder? How much is your rangefinder typically? $300,
$400, depending.
$400. Your
Yep.
sight's
Enough,
typically
yeah.
right.
Yep.
Your sight's typically $200, $400.
Yep.
So
But-
realistically, if you take your sight and your rangefinder, put it together,
You're right there.
you're not that far off. But
Right.
you got to realize that. Plus, now the added benefit of I don't have to carry a rangefinder in the woods.
Yep.
It's one less thing I got to have in my pocket. One less thing I can drop out of the tree. One less thing for all that kind of stuff. This has got it all built in. It's got this little trigger button right here. So when you're at full draw, all you've got to do is push that button on the animal, and instantly your pin moves
to the yardage.
to the yardage.
Yep.
20. Now, The other thing with most fixed pins or even the adjustables, it goes every 5 yards, right?
10.
Well,
Usually
10 for fixed, but I'm saying the HHA
yeah,
adjustables every
yep.
5.
Yep.
This is to the yard.
Really?
So if I'm at full draw and I hit that button on that thing, it'll say 23 yards.
Wow.
And it adjusts your pin accordingly to that. As soon as I had that situation, maybe I should have trained for that all the time, but I don't realistically think everybody does that. Plus, now you have to guess right? Like, because you're at full draw, you can't let down and rearrange it.
Yep.
So if I said in my mind that he came out at 30, okay, he's at 20. Might have been at 22, might have been at 18.
Right.
That makes a huge difference when you're talking inches, right?
Yep.
Right.
So size matters. It just does. So it's okay, Mark. You can laugh.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was waiting for instructions.
No, so anyway, so this, if I would have had this sight in that situation, it would have been a no-brainer. Full draw, push the button again. He's at 18, 19, whatever it is. Boom. You just put the pin on the spot and hammer down.
Yep. Plus, if you can also set that to fixed pins.
Yeah, so for instance, if fog, a lot of times if it's a fog or real heavy mist or a lot of dew in the air, rangefinders won't work.
Yep.
Right? So same thing with this. This obviously is the same technology as that rangefinder where you can push a button and now you've got all your 5 fixed pins just like a normal fixed pin sight. In the case, or if you're stalking, something like that where you've got branches, you got to kind of work around trees, you don't have time to range, whatever, that kind of thing. You still have that option. But I tell you what, I will never, ever not have that sight in my bow.
Do you find like you've shot a lot better since you've gone to something like that?
I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work to get it sighted in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because there's an X and a Y, and then there's like this, I don't even know, a Z or whatever. There's at least 4 different adjustments, so it does take a little bit. This is not a sight you're gonna pick up on Friday and have it dialed in by Sunday.
Yep.
You got to put some time into it to get it dialed in. But I think that you shoot better out of the range because it's not always that fixed 30-yard target, 40-yard target, 20-yard target.
Yep.
I mean, it's always 20, in the woods. I mean, how often is it exactly 20?
Well, those
18, 22, 33.
Yep. Those odd distances.
And that's where I think that
important.
this comes in. It's just absolutely awesome.
Yep.
And it does look a little space agey, but realistically, the weight, it doesn't add a ton of weight to your bow.
No, not anymore.
It's offset by all the stabilizers and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yep.
Why everybody doesn't shoot one is just because they haven't. It's a sticker shock.
It's a sticker shock.
But all they got to do is add the math up, and numbers don't lie.
Right. Well, and like you were saying, though, you could bring your used rangefinder, or you could bring, we'll buy it, most of that stuff here at the Real Shot because we buy the used equipment. I mean, Eggert's giving me a bow and everything a day now on trade-ins. Well, see, here's the other way I look at it. You spend how much money on licenses? You spend how much money on the bow and the arrows and the tree stands and the ground blinds, and then you start talking food plots. Yep.
Food plot seed, tractors, plows, all this kind of stuff, right?
Time.
And then your time. You add all of that up, and you get down to the 30 seconds that all of that, you're right?
Yep.
Guys like you start when? In April, right? It'll never stop.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep.
But I mean, the average guy, let's say they start in May, June, they start with spring food plots, they put all this time in, right? If they're really putting the time in, they're doing their tree stands in March.
Yep.
Right? They're really grinding this out. It comes to that 30-second window in October.
Yep.
And you're telling me you're really going to skimp on $300 on the site? An extra $300 on the site?
Right.
And that could be the difference maker?
Right.
Good point.
I mean, right? Like, seriously, realistically, if you really add it all up,
And
which you don't want to do.
Right. No. I always tell my wife venison is the most expensive meat we're ever going to eat.
See, and I don't eat,
but it'll never change.
Well, I'd say the same thing with fishing. I don't even eat fish. If I added up to $1 per pound of meat fishing, it would be stupid.
It'll never change. Just like.
So, but what's that worth to you, right?
That's true.
You know what I mean? If this is something now you shoot, you're really comfortable with fixed pins, and you're great with that. That's awesome. For a guy like me who doesn't get to shoot a ton,
right?
Something like that. If that can save that, or if that can earn that deer, plus it allows me to make a better kill shot.
Yep.
I'm not tracking all over the place.
Yep.
I put that pin at 33, and she's just gonna go.
Let it go.
That's it. I mean, it's just a no-brainer.
Yep. Well, and that last point you had there is kind of why we want to get into the crossbow segment of it all, because the fact is it doesn't matter what you're using. And remember, Mark, when crossbows started in the shop, there were so many naysayers for us, right?
Right.
When the state of Wisconsin legalized this, it was, wow, I mean, seriously.
Right.
But now it's funny because you talk to a lot of those guys. How many years has it been legal in the state? 5 years now?
2013, I believe.
So now you talk to a lot of those guys that were potentially naysayers. Now I had one just the other day. I'm interested in a crossbow. I'm like, where's your vertical bow? I still got it, but I'm hunting out of ground blinds a lot more. Well, there you go. I mean, so that's why it doesn't matter what weapon you harvest it with. Just make a good ethical shot, and then that's it.
Right.
I mean, like I've always kind of kid around when the crossbows. I said if they take all our weapons, which I mean, there's a lot of talk, things like that.
Don't get me started.
If I have to hit a deer with a vehicle, I mean, I'll do it because I ain't gonna give it up. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'll buy a beater car to do it, but I'm just telling you, like deer hunting.
Oh, we had venison burger last night.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really clean your venison well if you do it yourself, you clean it real well in like when you're carving it up and stuff, right?
Yep.
That is the best smell when you're cooking it. It is the best smelling meat ever.
Yep.
Not to get into like meat smell, but oh my God, it smells so good.
What's the difference between meat smell and the meat sweat?
Well, one just comes before the other. It's just, oh my God, it smells amazing.
Nice. All right, Mark. So you are the Real Shots crossbow guru. You've had how many years with crossbow experience?
About 15.
And you are the service guy. You're the 10-point warranty head guy. I mean, so you have the credentials to be in this room for sure. For sure, among many other things. So,
spit it out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know how I like to get pumped up.
Well,
talking
I think
about stuff,
that 10-point service thing's a big deal. I don't know if a lot of people know that we're the authorized 10-point service center.
Yeah.
And that's 100% because of Marc, because he knows the shit.
Oh, yes.
A lot of years of experience, but
and how many you go to training once a year on that?
Yeah, once a year, and I try to keep up to speed on all the newest stuff as best I can. A few of the new ones I haven't quite worked on yet because they're new to the market, obviously. But
so real quick, just explain what us being a 10-point service center means to the customers. Well, what value is that to them?
It's a huge value because, number one, I have access to parts. I have a lot of the parts here in store, so I can get stuff turned around relatively quickly, whereas if you had to send it back to 10-point, you could be without it for 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
And I think really where that comes about is when it gets closer to the season and guys are pulling those bows out and they've had it stored all winter and they've got a cracked limb or the AccuDraw is busted or something happened to it during the course of the winter. Typically, I can get that stuff turned around in just a couple of days as opposed to, a couple of weeks. So I think in that fashion, I think that's a huge benefit to the customer. Some things I don't have, so I have to wait for 10-point to send them to me. But once I get the parts, I'm going to do what it takes to get that done.
But for a lot of most of the common stuff, we've got it all.
Yep. Yeah, AccuDraw cords, retractor springs, gear pawls, all that kind of stuff, which are your typical things that get broken.
Yeah, it's if some guy comes in with an older bow and we don't have limbs for it or something. I mean, what are you going to do for it?
How many times have you fixed a bow within an hour for the guy on a Friday because something happened? His fault or not his fault? Let's not get into that. I'm headed up north. It's the rut. I need my bow. Marc has done that above and beyond for a lot of people. Now,
yeah, it's people have called me and said, "Hey, I've got a cracked limb and I'm on my way to." I did this for a guy specifically. He stopped here. I fixed his bow for him. I met him here before the store opened. I got his bow fixed for him because he was leaving to go up north for a week for a hunting trip. So, but that's the way we operate here.
Right.
It just is. If we can get it physically, get it done, and get it ready for you, we're going to do it.
Yep. And not only 10-point, but we can service all manufacturer make and models. So anything that we carry, not only in store, but like for instance, for those people that still shoot barnets, okay. We can get barnets turned around pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, if I can get them to cooperate and get us the parts, I can work on those. Obviously, Parker's not in business anymore, so I mean, for those people who have that, the basic stuff I can fix. But if it's a cracked limb or a stock or something like that, unfortunately, it's not going to work out. And
the cool thing again, because we have fixed strings right in the Real Shot, we make all crossbow strings. Color whatever you want, but that's pretty quick turnaround on that stuff too.
Yeah, it is, and as the season progresses, it there's a little bit of a time frame there, but yeah, we can build all of those things, your custom colors, whatever you want.
And you have never met a guy more meticulous than Mike, our string builder.
Oh yeah, he's yeah.
That dude is like down to the nano inch.
Yep.
I don't even know if that's a real thing, but it is now.
It is now.
So the vertical bow thing has been going crazy for a while. Mm-hmm. What's going on with the crossbows on the floor right now?
Well, that's a great question, Matt, because, obviously with Matthews and Bowtech and Hoyt, that has kind of elongated our ability to sell bows, not just during that curve of, July through October.
Yep.
I mean, Matt's built that clientele and people buying bows all year round. So you don't see that big spike now. With crossbows, you're going to see that just because, it's just getting to be that season. People are out sniffing around right now. They're looking at all the new stuff and what's going on. And there's people out there that have stuff that now they bought 3-4 years ago, and the technology has changed so dramatically that they're looking at newer, faster, high performance, lighter weight, shorter bows. So I'm starting to see that. Typically, it'll pick up within the next 2 to 3 weeks where it'll really get. But there's a lot of people looking at crossbows and the new Ravens and even the new 10 points for that fact.
Yep. Well, and so the one thing that I think a lot of people are trying to do as well is like with this one and with the Ravens is that ability to decock these bows without ever having to fire them off. I mean, for you, that saves you a lot of headache because typically that's when a lot of our repairs happen, a semi-dry fire, breaks a limb, breaks a cam, all that kind of stuff. So if you have not paid attention to the fact that you can let most of these bows down now without having to shoot them off, it's time for you to come in and check that out because that is so convenient. And then if I head to the range yet today, I'll try to demonstrate that on a couple of different ones. But
it's just safety. It's so huge.
Oh,
I think I know there's an argument with some of the companies on the safety.
Tell us the benefits of why it's important to be able to decock your crossbow without having to shoot it off.
Well, I think there's several advantages to that. Obviously if you don't want to decock it or shoot it off when you get out of your tree stand. So you've got that safety factor of walking back with it still cocked.
Yep.
That's always an issue. Too many things can happen. Those limbs are under a lot of pressure, and things can happen at any time. But it's more a safety factor than it is anything else. And most guys are like, well, I don't really want to discharge my crossbow and make that big cracking noise after dark.
Right.
So now not with the ones that you have the ability to decock that. You can do that relatively quietly now.
Yep. So, like, if you're getting down from a tree stand, it's usually best to do it at the ground. Don't try to do it unless you're in a bigger box stand or something like that. I mean, most of the companies don't recommend you do it in the tree stand anyways, but, a lot of recommendations are one thing.
Yeah, so. I would, if you're asking me what I would recommend is don't put yourself in any risky situation trying to decock something where you can lose your balance and drop your crossbow or you slip off your tree stand or something like that. So, lower it down just like you would take the bolt out of it, lower it down slowly, and when you get down there, then decock it.
Right. So if we look at the catalog, so if anybody has if we have the flip book and the links or anything like that, let's look at the first and the big one right away. I mean, the Ravens, when they took the market by storm.
They did.
And their bows are always been really, really quality. This last year, they just blew everybody's mind by taking a phenomenal crossbow and making it super, super compact. And just to the right, Brian, or your left, can you grab that? That's an R26.
I know you're dyslexic. Don't worry. You notice
my right, your left.
Yeah, but you notice I didn't even hesitate when you said you're right. I just went straight there. I knew.
So this is the R26, and I can kind of move this mission out of the way. We'll get into this one next. So talk about the Ravens.
I mean, look at the size of that thing. That was at ATA when we went there. That was the thing, right? Like everyone went down to ATA saying, "How is Ravin going to beat the R9
and R10
and the R10?" Right? Like, what are they going to do? Everybody, right? That was the biggest, probably buzz down there. Was what were they going to do? Yep. And you walk up and you see this little subcompact crossbow.
It's nuts.
It is. I mean, you take a look at it, and if you're a person that hunts out of a ground blind or like Brian with the redneck or something like that, where you got window configuration, this is conducive to just about shooting out
well, plus with little kids, they take up a lot of room, man. I tell you.
Yeah,
kids are crossbows.
What?
Kids are crossbows.
The kids. Oh, you'd be surprised how much room an 8-year-old can take up.
I believe it.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Take up a lot of space.
So obviously this is the R26 for a reason. It's 26 inches from stem to stern, right?
Yep.
What's the feet per second on this bow?
This one is 400 feet per second.
Okay, and then the R29 is 29 inches from stem to stern.
430 feet per second.
430 feet per second.
Right.
And the cool thing about you just break it down for people that are maybe not familiar with the Ravens form.
Well, it has a helicoil system, which if you take a look at it right here, you'll see the cables that come on both the top and the bottom of the cam. What that equates to is, perfect cam rotation. You don't have any lean. The cables are served completely. So, I mean, you can adjust the lean on them, but you can't adjust the timing. So basically, once the string of cables it comes out of time, you're pretty much ready for new ones. They say 250 shots or so. Depends on how much you do shoot the bow. 250 times for the average guy is a lot.
That is a lot, and the fact that you don't have to shoot it off unless you're shooting at a deer.
Right.
250 is not that much. I mean,
No.
it's a lot. It is a lot. I mean,
Well, and it doesn't take the shots. With a vertical bow, it takes a while to get those dialed in.
Yep.
I mean, you could put 100 shots to a vertical bow in a weekend, right? Real easy.
We used to have competitions, and I think the quickest anybody sighted in a crossbow to 60 yards was 3 shots.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But then as soon as it's locked in, it's almost like picking up your rifle.
Right. As long as you don't move that speed dial that's on the top. How many times we had that happen? It's like, I was trying to change the focus on it. Once it's set at the speed, don't touch it.
Right.
Oh, so it's not a focus, it's the speed.
No, your focus is up underneath the scope cap right here. That's where you adjust your focus first.
Oh.
It's the first thing I do when somebody grabs a crossbow is I'm going to pull this cap off, and you're going to take a look at that, and I want you to focus on it, whether you're going to shoot it with your glasses or without.
Right.
Make sure that that's focused properly, because you don't want to turn this, because that will adjust where your arrow goes.
Yep.
And numerous times it's like, I thought you had this dialed in.
So once this is set, it's pretty much set it
Yep.
and forget it.
Yep.
Okay.
Until like Mark said before, until your strings reach a certain point where you're losing a little velocity.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. But it also here, I mean, so pretty much.
But for the year, if you pull it out and you get it
yes.
set in for that year, she's pretty much don't touch it.
Right.
And for the sight-in process, it's pretty super simple for most of these. But, yeah, I mean, you may have to make if you add a lighted knocker and broadhead, obviously, there may be a slight, adjustment to it. But usually they're ready to rock.
Yeah. And I recommend anybody, I tell this to every single person, is don't trust that it's going to fly like a field point. If you're going to shoot ramcats or you're going to shoot dead meats or you're going to shoot rages, whatever, make sure you test it first.
Yep.
That confidence that you have in that bolt to fly exactly the way it is, the way the bow is set up, and the way the broadhead is.
Yep.
That's huge.
Right.
Because you don't want to take that for granted and get out there and have Muy Grande come walking by and you miss him because you didn't take time to do it correctly. So
Exactly.
that's a big recommendation.
Yeah. And like you mentioned the dead meats, with that company, they send you a practice head right in there so you don't have to dull a broadhead. Now, a lot of people take it to the nth degree and they'll actually shoot the broadhead as well to make sure that it is. But with that ballistic match point there, it should take a lot of
Rage
that.
just gotten away with that, or do they still sell those?
They still sell the
Separate?
hypodermic one. Yep.
No, but the
Yeah,
fake
I don't
one?
know if they.
Practice point.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they package it with the new NCs anymore. That's the no
I
collar.
think they're honestly, if you talk to them, they'd just be like, "It's not worth it. It flies the same." That's what they're going to tell you.
Right.
Not whether or not that's true. I'm just saying that's what they're going to tell you.
I mean, it could very well be, but I'm going to recommend that people don't take that risk.
right. Oh,
I agree.
absolutely. It goes back to
Confidence-
what I was saying about the sight. Why risk it? Kind of few shots.
Yep.
Even if you had a dull broadhead, why risk it?
Right.
You got tens of thousands of dollars stuck into this.
Right.
stuff,
Right.
And you guys know what it is to have the confidence. If you have any inclination that there's something might not be right or whatever, that gets in your head.
Oh yeah.
If you know you're dead on, you're spot on, you have the confidence in your equipment, that's
Well, and
what
if
you
you've
need.
never had a deer, if you've never wounded a deer, and you don't know how bad that gets to you, I don't even know how to describe it.
It's
Like
terrible.
it's happened to everybody.
Yep.
But you're talking like sleepless nights and feeling like a big POS.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's not a
just
good feeling.
No, it's the worst.
It's not a good feeling
and
at
you're
all.
wasting vacation days because you're out looking for this thing. And
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
terrible.
It's bad.
Well,
And
like I'm saying, it's just like, listen to Mark. It's not worth not
No.
knowing.
Yep.
I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and I said, he's going out west, and I said, get 6 broadheads and sacrifice 1. I go, the cost of the trip and the tag and everything like that, you don't want that to boil down to a $10
Oh, for sure.
field broadhead.
You're right. That's really
Well, I
good.
said,
That's really
a pretty good
advice.
point. And I said, you just don't want to risk that.
Right.
And I said, take into consideration too. I said, when you get out there, out west, you've got the air is different than it is here. So pull that out of the case and take your target with you and make sure that everything's operating perfectly.
Good.
Don't assume you don't want that to happen.
Right. We all know.
Yeah,
We all know what
exactly.
happens. So.
Exactly. But yeah, getting back to the Ravin, I mean, you've got the frictionless flight system, which is basically right here. There's no rail, there's no friction, there's no contact, so it free flights right through the roller rest on the front, so you really have no contact. Now, on a side note, we've had a lot of people say that their fletchings are flying off. It's key that cock feather is down. Check all the nocks on all of your arrows. Sometimes you can pull them, they can get turned. Make sure that cock feather is facing down at all times, because if it doesn't, I don't know where your arrow's going to go.
Right.
But it's going to rip the fletchings off, and know, make sure they're designed to do that way. Otherwise, if you evaluate them after you're done shooting them, take a look at them, make sure that they're lined up. Your nock is lined up properly with the fletching, and if not, then take a little pliers and just turn it a little bit. They will turn.
Yep. Well, especially if you buy the aftermarket lighted nocks for them.
Yeah.
And then you install them. You always got very crucial with all crossbows, but especially the Ravens, because you'll hit this little arrow guard right here, and then
bad things happen.
Right.
Then you've got the track trigger firing system, which is basically right here. That's you release this whole trigger mechanism right here. It slides down, clicks onto the string, and you draw it back on the Versa draw cocking mechanism, which is right here.
Yep.
And that can go ambidextrous either way.
Yep.
And it's such an easy thing to do. It takes a couple times, just like it did with an AccuDraw and a 10-point, how to get that down so that you're not letting this slide down. And on another side note with these, we've seen this a lot, is kind of like when you're cranking up your strap on your boat. This has got a big strap on it. It slides down. If you end up with a big bow in there and you got a lot of slack in and you start cranking it, it can sidetrack and pull off the black stitching on the outside or the inside. And once that deteriorates, the whole strap itself is compromised. So at that point in time, it's got to go back. They have to replace it.
Yep.
Quick, easy fix for that is when you draw it down, you got your thumb on the backside to release the gear pawl. Put your index finger on here and slide that down all the way down.
Yep.
And then click it on. If it does happen and it slides down, just grab it tightly and crank the trigger mechanism back so you don't have that slack in there. Because I've seen it more and more. Guys are starting to use them a lot more, and that you can't shoot them because if that strap gives way, and you'll see all it takes is one piece of that stitching to come off, and it just takes the whole thing down. It's kind of like when you get that one piece of stitch on here and you pull it and the whole arm falls off. It's not something that you want to have happen. So to people who own these, that's one of those things that I ask that you look at.
Right. Oh yeah. I like the flightless. I mean, what you talked about the rail. I mean, most of the bows still on the market. You have to put rail lube on there. Mm-hmm. You don't require any of that, and there's very little areas to wax on these crossbows as well.
Right. You got two spots. You got the material is exposed on both sides of the center serving. Now there's a serving lube that Ravin produces, but I recommend it for everybody with any crossbow. And what that does is you just take your thumb and you push this string forward. It's like a bingo dauber. You just take and you put that on there, and what it does is it helps hold the serving material together and keeps it from drying out and deteriorating. Because you can see after about 2 or 3 shots, it'll start to turn gray. And what that will do is that will help preserve that. And when it starts to separate, then the moisture gets in between that center serving, and then it'll deteriorate from the inside out. So again, a $9 investment that can prolong the length. Because if you damage the center serving on here, it's a whole new set of string and cables.
Right.
So it's a $9 insurance policy.
Yep. So I'm going to head to the range here in a minute. I want you to talk about the Ravens. We have a great selection of the Ravens. Plus, I didn't realize we still have R10s in stock.
Yeah, we do, and actually they're as popular. They're a little bit less priced but the guys like the regular stock. You got a 29-inch, you got a 26-inch. Well, with the R10s, you got a total length of 33 inches. Yep. So that's more relative to the crossbows they're used to shooting rather than the shorter ones. So there's still those options for those, and they're a little bit lower price. So.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I guess.
What is the price on the 10 right now?
I think it's $14.99.
Nice. Yeah. That's normally $2,000 crossbow, right?
They were.
I thought they were.
Originally.
Originally. Yeah.
Originally.
Yep.
Now they're more moderately priced. You're looking at the R26 at 19.
Right.
And the 29. Slightly higher than that. So 24.
That's a really good way to put it.
And I wouldn't say it's a budget way to go at it, but the R10 is comparative to the R26. The R10's got an 11-inch power stroke. The R26 has a 9.5-inch power stroke. The foot-pounds of kinetic energy are the same. The weight itself is very parallel.
Yep.
But the difference is the length.
Yep. And a lot of guys love how compact that thing is, but it's just getting that eye relief set properly. Is
right.
A bigger frame guy just is not going to buy the 29. But a lot of guys still like that 33-inch stock on the R10.
Right,
and that's
absolutely.
why we sold a pile of those R9s and such like this.
Yep.
All right. So we want to talk about the mission, because then I'm going to steal the mission and I'm going to go to the range and we're going to shoot the Ravin in the mission. And so when Megan was building this catalog, she kind of asked me, "You all right?"
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll grab you a
Toad in
water.
my throat or something.
She was kind of asking me how we want to price point a lot of this stuff, and I told her, let's just give everybody a range of where, all the products in a high end to a low end type of atmosphere, or low end to high end. So obviously with these two bows, I mean, we're at the higher end, and then we're going to talk about the Wicked Ridge while I'm walking down right over here to the range. But let's go into the mission, the sub one. And then I'm going to steal it. I'm going to head down there, and you guys can talk while I'm walking to the range, and then fire me up when I'm...
And break.
And break. Ready, go.
Ready, break. Yeah, mission sub 1. I mean, great bows. You can decock these as well. And, when you take a look at this bow, it is a rope cocking bow, which some people may not appeal to everybody.
How do you decock this one then? With the rope?
It's got a button on the back. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and it's a little trickier.
These things have you just imagine their bow, how the let off is on their vertical bow. The crossbows are the same. Like what Marc said, when you're going to let it down at first, it's like you're holding nothing, and then all of a sudden the weight slowly progresses and it gets a little more difficult. But yeah, I mean you're like, is it gonna go? Is it gonna go? Remember like the first time decocking the Excalibur crossbows?
Yep.
Oh, it's like, boom, the Excaliburs don't have a break point because they don't have a cam system. It's just a recurve.
Right.
I forgot to grab an Excalibur. But anyways, yeah, these things are like they hang, and all of a sudden, then it kind of goes. But it's so easy once you do it.
Yeah, you take a look at the cam design on that and the limb design of it. It's got a big front end. It's a little heavier on the front end. But, a great shooting bow. You're looking at 410 feet per second, which I mean is screaming.
Yeah, it's still fast.
Yep, it's
still fast.
This one, it's got the adjustable stock on the back, which is nice, because I always recommend to people when you're setting up your crossbow and your eye relief on your scope, take into consideration when you got your heavy clothing on, because that's going to change it. It's going to push it forward a little bit more. So I always tell people, if you get out there, go home and put your clothing on that you're going to hunt with. If it's not right, then come back and we'll slide it. We'll move it so that's comfortable, because you don't want to be moving your head around doing this. It's kind of like having your peep sight not in the right spot, and you're trying to move your head up and down, and no, you want to be able to pull that up and be able to see right through that scope.
Well, and it's the same thing with the rope cockers. I mean, it's important to have those adjusted properly as well. For some shorter people, they end up getting it like up here, then they lose all that momentum. You kind of want it to end right about the chest height, so it makes it a lot easier for you to cock it back.
Right. You stand up and stand up and pull at the same time. So by the time you're standing upright, it should be cocked.
Yep. Yeah, and then they got a lot of high end. So just like the Ravin and the 10-point, some of the higher end, lighted scope, multi-dots in there. These guys even take it to another level, and they send you a level. Ha, 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 ha. But yeah, I mean, they put a level in there, and people are like, why is that important? Well, it's no different than why does your sight on your vertical bow have a level on it? You can get a slight cant to it, and that can affect your left, right, or even your up, down on your shots.
And that's critical, Matt, and I'm glad you brought that up, because people are like, well, I had a level on my compound bow forever, and I never used it. But on a crossbow, if you're taking a longer shot, at 410, 430 feet per second, I mean, you are extending your range. So when you take a look at that level, if you're going to be shooting longer distances, it's imperative that you have a level on there.
Yep.
And even with the 10 points or in the Ravins, it's because that little bit of canting is going to, like you said, it's going to push that arrow.
Yep. It's no different than why these long-range rifles have levels on them as well. Mm-hmm. It makes a really
the
big
longer
difference.
the distance, the more area you have, more room for error.
The more margin for error, absolutely.
And especially with how fast they're going now.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to start heading down there. I'll let you guys. So we talked about the Ravin and the mission. You can talk about the 10-point. I didn't grab the high-end 10-point, but I have, the Wicked Ridge here, and then I have. But what's the new high-end one? 470 feet per second?
Yeah, it's the Nitro XRT. It's a reverse limb, screaming, similar type of design as the Ravins, but extremely fast.
Like crazy fast.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
What were these bows like 10 years ago when we started this? What were they like?
300.
300?
Yeah, 300 feet per second, and everybody thought, whoa, that's really fast, And then all of a sudden the compound bows started to develop and become faster and faster. But when you take it 470 feet per second, that's just
I mean, that's like
It's ridiculous.
where do you think the limit is for that?
You know, I don't know.
Is there a limit, or is it just technology and the cam? I mean, obviously it's technology and the limbs and the cams and all that type of stuff, but like where's it gonna go?
I know. So you keep going and you start creeping up to the velocity of some
air rifle for crying out loud.
I know, but it's and how fast does it really have to be? The thing is they still make noise.
Right.
They're nowhere as quiet.
Yeah, but they keep getting better at that too.
They do.
They're just, it's unreal.
Yep. The dampening systems and the actual limb design themselves is really becoming, making them a lot quieter. So
it's just.
It's absolutely crazy. I think about that all the time. It's like, okay, what's the next step? How far are they going to push push these bows to the limit?
I think we've seen some of it when we were at ATA with the hydraulic limbs and the, you know what I mean? Some of that stuff that right now looks kind of space agey because it was real heavy, but it was a compressed air system that actually would allow you to decompress the limbs on a recurve bow.
Right.
And then you literally push a button and it just cocks it for you almost. It was I think that's where it'll go, right?
I would
It's
think.
just going to take a while for that technology to get a little smaller, not quite as expensive, those types of things. But, I mean, it's definitely that's where I think it's going to go. I think it's going to be that push button cocking. It's going to automatically, cock itself, all that kind of stuff.
And I think maybe they'll just have them set up and you can shoot your deer remotely,
They've tried that already. They've tried that already.
It's and I've always been a backer of crossbows. I think when you talk about going, just if it gets people outside to hunt, it doesn't matter.
Oh, absolutely. That's really was my thing when everyone was complaining about crossbows. I'm like, they're not hunting your deer. I mean, I guess public, I suppose, but so what?
It doesn't matter.
I mean, if you want to have one, go get one. Who cares?
Well,
Why does it matter?
Right. I mean, I would always tell people if you don't want to shoot a crossbow, then don't shoot one.
Right.
But don't tell me I can't shoot one because you don't like it.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't. That in this day and age when they're trying to, manage the herd and it shouldn't matter. If people are out there shooting them with high-powered rifles and muzzle loaders and stuff like that, it shouldn't matter.
So what's that? Is that the Wicked Ridge over there?
Yep, this is the Wicked Ridge. I can grab that one.
Well, that's more of your entry level, correct?
This is a 10-point. It's a price point bow. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a standard 10-point would. But if you're that guy that doesn't have a huge budget and you're looking at, you want to get into a crossbow, it still has the 3X ProView scopes. It still has the AccuDraw 52 or the AccuDraw, which you can have put in them, which are cocking devices. The AccuDraw 52 is a built-in rope cocking device, which actually decreases the draw weight by 50%. So using it as a fulcrum. The AccuDraw Pros now are silent, and they take it down to about 9 pounds of pressure. So you can click on. They used to click and make noise, and everybody would be like, "Well, I'm just, I don't want to do that," and here they have that noise. So now they've developed a Pro where you can actually do it quietly, and it's clutched, similar to that on the Ravin, where you can't over crank them. Once you get it cranked up, it will stop.
Okay. Awesome.
So you're looking at a bow here that's $600, $100 for if you get the upgrade. This one here is $600, and then if you go upgrade to the AccuDraw, it's $100 more.
Okay.
Which is pretty standard on
now
all
the
the 10
AccuDraw
points.
is the winch.
That's the crank.
Correct?
Yep. That is the crank.
Now, did you just say that the crank is silent now?
It is. The AccuDraw Pro. Yep. It is
okay.
They've changed the design of that. Still can't decock with them, but you're cranking that bow up and it's not clicking with the old standard gate pawl that would click.
Yep. Sounded just like a winch.
It's exactly what it was.
That's what it is.
Yep. Exactly. But this is one of our mid-range bows that we sell a lot of. These are ones that people are upgrading that don't want to spend a lot of money, that have old Barnetts or old Hortons or something like that, and it's just not producing, the speed, and then getting parts for some of the older stuff becomes increasingly difficult.
Oh, right.
At all.
They kind of age themselves out.
They do. I mean, you take a look at some of those, the older ones where the limbs were this far apart and they had rubber-coated cables, and too many things could go wrong.
It's just incredible. You look at the technology in this,
right,
and then you look at the technology in the Mission and the Ravens and some of that. You wonder what you're paying for. Well, just look at the engineering difference. It's
right.
Dramatic. I mean, it's night and day.
It is, exactly. And you take a look at some of the older ones when they first came out were 300 feet per second. Now you're looking at one that's 360.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more.
Oh.
It's more than enough.
That's amazing.
Yep, more than enough. 112 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. It's more than enough. And people always say to me, I can shoot this thing 70, 80 yards. I'm like, oh, yeah, most definitely. But I said it's not a performance issue at that point in time. It's ethics.
I agree.
They're gonna shoot. The faster the bow, obviously, the quicker the arrow's going to get there. But, as we all know, whitetails can be pretty jumpy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I've hunted almost my whole life, and it's amazing how they operate. Like if you really start just watching that animal, right, the instincts and being able to just hear weird things, and it's unreal how they function. It's just crazy.
The more hours you spend in the tree, you spend that time observing their behavior and how they react to wind and rain and snow and even when the leaves drop off the trees, I mean, they're always adapting, and you alluded to it earlier. It's like they're on guard all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just a predatorial thing or what that is, but well, I think it is. I think in their world they're always being hunted.
Yeah, they are prey.
Wolves, coyotes, whatever, people. I think that that's just in their nature to always be on the lookout, right? I mean, that's
absolutely.
That's what their deal is.
And you think the big mature bucks are the ones that are always on guard. You take a look at a matriarch adult doe.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think there's a smarter creature that walks around in the woods.
We've talked about that a few times. I learned all sorts about doe gangs and all that kind of stuff last year. And man, those ladies are tough to deal with. They'd be harder to hunt almost than the bucks, to be honest with you.
I consider a 3 to 4 year old doe a trophy. Yeah, not that any of them aren't, because they all are, but if you can harvest one of those big matriarch does, you've accomplished something, because they're smart. They're smart.
That's why I've got a rule on my farm: if you snort at me, you die.
And those are the ones that do that.
Oh, for sure.
They'll snort for an hour.
Oh.
I've
had one. I had one. She saw my ranger one time, started snorting, for no reason other than she knew I was in the woods somewhere, and she went around. I swear to God, she went around in a circle at about 300 yards of me. 300 yards in a circle, just snorting. I'm like, come on.
Just get within range.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're the worst. They've wrecked a lot of hunts for me.
Oh, terrible.
Over the years, and
terrible.
I've been lucky. I've harvested a couple. I set my sights on a couple of them that I knew had been there for a long period of time, and they knew where the stands were, and they.
It's fun, everything's become about. We're waiting for Matt. I think he's almost ready, isn't he, Zach?
Yeah, he is actually. But anyway, he's there waiting. But.
Okay, so it's kind of the point now for me. It's just you get more deer to hunt because we have to harvest a lot of does where I hunt. So I've got a few does that I pick out. You get more deer to hunt that way.
Yep.
And they all taste the same.
Yeah. Delicious.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right. So can we hear Matt? Are we gonna be able to hear him?
You won't be able to hear him.
We won't be able to hear him.
I will be able to hear him though.
Okay. Would it really screw it up if he turned his speakerphone off so I could hear him talk through the phone? Would that get all sorts of echoey?
It would get all echoey.
All sorts of echoey?
Yeah.
All right. So, Matt, if you can hear us, why don't you just take it over from here, and we'll kind of see how this goes.
Hey! You're live. Oh.
I don't know if they can hear him or not.
Give him a pause real quick. I don't have audio from his camera.
Oh, okay. No audio yet. You can just go ahead and shoot it. We can just walk you through it.
We could do like on Whose Line Is It Anywhere, where we could actually talk while you do it. Oh, look, I just got this new phone. Oh, it doesn't work. Ding.
Yeah, I'm going to do this.
Well, if there's no audio. Now you can hear me. Yeah, this is the mission. Zach, can you hear me then? Okay, can everybody else?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
All right. Well, the biggest thing is while I'm down here, why we wanted to show what the Crossbows is. This room where we're in the new range here is pretty amplified, so noise bounces off these walls pretty well. But, so that's why I'm going to shoot the Ravin in the Mission, just so you can hear how quiet these bows really are. Even though I'm close to a microphone, these have high-powered microphones on them. But this room is very echoey. So the thing about it is when you're in the woods, this thing is going to sound like a whisper. Now, this is the Sub 1 XR. Look at how compact that is. And remember what Mark told you in the range, this thing's shooting over 400 feet per second. Look at how crazy compact that is. And then as far as the letdown abilities, what we'll do is we'll film some back to basic videos with Mark, and he'll show everybody how easy it is to let these bows down, Mark or Matt, whatever it is. So right here I have, I have the Mission. This is a Sub 1 XR, and I'll just go ahead and fire it off, and I won't talk so you can see. You're not going to see how fast it is, but you're going to hear how quiet this bow really is. So here we go. Fingers down, always on the opposite hand. Point blank range. Now you got to remember that sounded a little louder in here because again, a lot of the noise is going to bounce off all these hollow walls and things like that. But that thing is super fast and it's super, super quiet. So again, that was the Mission. I think I'm getting a phone call right now. So we showed you how compact the Mission is. This is that R26. Look at how narrow this thing is. Not only is it 26 inches from stem to stern, but just look at that thing. That's less than 6 inches at cocked. Now here's the bolt for the Ravin. I'm going to slide it in. Now the cool thing I like about the Ravins is they're virtually dry fire proof. Now, I say virtually. What happens is this thing's actually going to snap onto the string. It's a real subtle click. But if you don't hear that click, you're not going to be able to shoot the bow. So that's a nice feature that helps you eliminate the chance for potential dry fire. A lot of the other ones still have the ability where they just butt up to the string, and if you don't have the great connection on that, you run that risk. But again, this is over 400 feet per second, compact, and I'm going to fire this one off really quick. I'm going to see if I can Robin Hood that other arrow. I mean, again, this crazy, crazy fast, super, super quiet, even in this amplified room. So if you haven't got a chance yet and you're still in the market for a great, great crossbow, either the Mission, the Ravin, or the 10 points, anyone, Excalibur, we carry a great range of crossbows from the low end all the way up to the high end. So come see Mark and the guys, and they're going to hook you up really, really good. But I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to walk right back to the room. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, and that thing's how tiny the whole thing is. When it's all cocked, it's like this big. It's awesome.
That gives a whole new direction for spot and stalk. If you're one of those guys that likes to do that, I mean, easy, compact, lightweight, just perfect way to move around.
The longer I've been hunting, the more I start playing around with the spot and stalk piece. Just on my. I don't have the perfect ground for it because it's a lot of big open woods and whatever. But I tell you what, when you can figure out how to get in, and I've had a few instances, mostly with younger, stupid deer, because I don't know if I'm good enough to get in on a big one yet. But man, it is really cool when you're at eye level with them at like 10 yards. That's really cool. When they don't know you're there and they're almost looking right through you.
Yep,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I've never really done it in Wisconsin. Out west, doing it for mule deer and antelope, it's a whole different perspective because you're using the terrain, but you don't have the trees and the shrubs. You're using the sagebrush and the contour of the land to be able to do that. But it's just kind of fun to be able to put your you spot the deer, spot the antelope, and then just kind of take a look at it. And,
what I've learned is it's 90% wind.
Oh yeah.
If you can stay downwind of that animal and you can just know how to walk through a woods quietly and use this, go from tree to tree, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's not as hard as you would think, but you can't outsmart the wind.
No.
There's zero chance you're outsmarting him if you got the wind in the wrong direction.
Right.
There's zero chance.
That's it. And it all boils down to it. I think it's when you're hunting or you're doing anything, use the wind to your advantage. You can have all the scent control and all the stuff that you want, but Absolutely. It still boils down to the wind direction. I've actually gotten out of stands that the wind switched on me. It's like I can't hunt here because it's blowing right in the bedding area.
Right.
You got to move.
Yep.
You won't see anything.
Yeah, I've actually killed hunts. I've just come in early because the wind switched.
Yep.
It just ruins it.
It
Hey, Matt,
does.
how's it going?
Hey, well, it's
That worked really cool. We've got to figure out how we can hear you and communicate.
Okay.
We'll work on that.
yeah. I mean, I could hear you
Next-
guys plenty through the phone, but I mean,
we'll figure it out.
for 8 o'clock last night,
Yeah,
it turned
that
out
was
pretty
really
well.
Cool. Absolutely.
But that's what I wanted to do is, we could have got into letting it down and all that kind of stuff. It would have been hard with the camera angle, but like you guys said after I shot the bows, it's like how crazy compact,
it's just,
just
it's
so
awesome.
so narrow.
It's funny. I never noticed. It looks when you hold it up. It looks exactly like their logo.
Oh no way! I didn't even realize
Yeah,
that.
you're kidding, right?
No.
I always knew that was a crossbow, but when you held up the R26 to the camera, it looked exactly like that.
Dude, that's like the Wendy's logo. I didn't realize it. Like that's crazy.
That is one of the coolest logos
Oh, absolutely.
I've seen.
But
in a long
the
time.
bow looks exactly like that when you hold
I never
it up.
knew that was a crossbow. I thought it was just a raven flying in the air.
You kidding me?
No.
Oh, I always knew it was a crossbow, but I didn't know it was literally like the top view of the bow.
It's nuts.
That's awesome.
And I mean, that's why I did the mission first, because that thing is really, really compact.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hold those ravens up, that thing is just, it's like there's nothing there.
Right.
And I don't know how well
But you could see because you mentioned the bigger frame guys.
Yep.
Because you're not a small dude, and that bow looks just a little. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You could see where if you're the next size up.
Was
you're
it
gonna wanna,
was it pretty loud in the range when I shot it?
I couldn't hear it. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was actually pretty quiet.
Okay.
It wasn't even that loud.
Oh.
Yeah,
You guys
we
could
couldn't
you guys
hear you at all.
you could only hear me.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and but that was what I tried to say is like that room is amplified.
Well, yeah. How wide is that room now? 15 feet? 12
Yeah,
feet?
about that.
And
15 feet wide.
hollow walls.
Yep.
Hollow roof.
It's an echo
ceiling.
chamber.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what I said is this room is not the perfect example or it is the
Well, it
perfect
is a
example.
perfect
Yeah,
example.
to show you
Absolutely.
how quiet these bows
For
really
sure.
are. And so both of them are extremely quiet. And I didn't have a 10-point. I should have shot whoa. Dude, I got to slow down here. Still, I jogged
amped
back
up
here.
I'm on, dude.
But the 10-point is some of these bows you just got to come in and see the guys. And
Yeah,
shoot
you
'em.
do. I mean, you have to. You got to get it in your hand. You got to see how it feels, the length
Yep.
of pull, what it feels to cock it, and if appropriate, decock it, and that's all part of the process.
Yep. Yeah, so it is funny, though, because when I cocked that mission back, I'm so used to those Ravens and how fluid those things are. This sounds like a commercial for Raven, but, seriously, that mission, it's super easy to do it, but I haven't done it for a while, so I'm like, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, and then it just pops right back, but that Raven is just, ding. But the silent thing and the 10-point, the silent cock,
Yeah, the AccuDraw Pro, that's a big deal now.
yeah, that's what people have. They're always their biggest complaint.
Yeah,
Larry said it sounded like a vertical bow.
Oh, really? Perfect.
So
And those vertical bowls, like your verdicts and everything else, they're
damn near
super
silent.
quiet
Yeah,
as
it's
it is.
crazy.
So, I mean, I think we covered a good portion of the broadheads and all that kind of stuff is really virtually the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a great selection. I mean, it's
we carry almost every brand of broadhead known to man, don't
yeah,
we?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the Ramcats, the Strikers, the all of the NAPs. I mean, there's something there. I know there's always questions on mechanicals and functionality of that, and I spend more time talking to people about now that they've got the no collar, making sure that the collars on the ones that they do purchase are placed properly.
Correct, and we will help you with that at the
Yeah.
Real Shot. We've
Yeah,
taken
absolutely.
so many broadheads out of packs and just showed everybody how to do it. But yeah, like you said, with the Rage NC, I'm pretty curious about this one. I've seen some reviews on it on the internet for some of those guys that are shooting it already, and they absolutely love it. And we played with it a little bit at ETA, and it snaps in place really nice. But to your point is these bows are so fast. Some fixed blades they've modified them so they will fly out of crossbows, and they will, but you're still going to require a little bit of tuning with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to what we talked about earlier, is you'd have to take the time to get it done properly, and don't assume that your old broadheads that you've shot out of your compound bow are going to function, because I'm going to tell you no.
They won't. Yeah, it's just a ferrule size and it's just a bigger size and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, the ferrule's actually beveled out to match up to make the crossbow bolt to make it aerodynamic.
Yep. And then Light at Knox, we got Arrow Lube. We got everything. We got targets, dude. When I was up there, the targets we have in this store for shooting crossbows.
On the cases.
Oh, my God. Well, and that's the thing. What's that deal on the Spire right now?
Yeah, they were $89. Now they're $59. So $30 off on a Spire hard case, which fits pretty much everything. Doesn't fit a Ravin or any of the reverse limbs, but fit just about everything else. That's a steal.
Yep, that's a really good deal. So we're kind of at that 9 o'clock hour. Now, despite Brian probably not wanting me to do this, I'm going to give the sight away. I'm going to give the sight away, and I'm going to give the Light at Knox away. Okay?
You got a winner?
I got a winner.
You got a winner.
Yep. Now, with Brian saying that, though, it was very disappointing that I know. He's not going to like that I'm going to give it away. He thinks it's a waste of time because nobody participated. But I'm going to reward one guy. I'm going to reward Kyle Weston. Kyle Weston was one of the gentlemen out of the few. So I just feel I randomly put a couple guys in a hat and picked, and Kyle Weston won the IQ site and the Nocturnals. The other thing, too, is we started Free Hat Friday again.
Yep.
And so I have a winner from that one. We didn't specify that you can only share it one time.
Right.
So there was this guy in particular, Kevin Searing, he shared it like more than a half a dozen times.
Nice.
Which is great.
But that's effort.
That's
like
it.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanna
So
see max
I
effort.
browsed through and it got shared like 50 plus, 90 plus times. I can't remember what it was, but Kevin was one of the first ones that I saw that he tagged like as many people and he shared it as many times as he possibly could. So those are the winners. We'll reach out to those guys right after the show and get your information.
That's that football coach in me. I like max effort. Even if you don't get it done.
I agree.
As long as you went fast and hard, I don't care.
Right.
I tell the kids all the time, just go. Go fast. Just do something fast.
Yep. Right.
Right? Just do something
Right.
fast. Don't stand there and act like you don't know what you're doing. Just go do something fast.
Go-
Even if you don't know, do it fast.
Do it fast.
Right?
Do it.
Bingo.
Just go fast. I like
Go,
effort.
go fast.
Max effort guy.
Just like Talladega Nights.
Yeah,
I want to
go
go
fast.
fast. But we are going to do more of these giveaways, and we still have that Daiwa reel.
Yep.
That one is going to require some max effort. That is not going to be like two people share it and we're going to give that thing away.
Right.
Because if that's the case, then it's going in my fishing rod. Like I put a lot of effort in. I deserve it just as much as anybody else in this room. So.
Oh, boy.
What cool. Here we go.
Then I guess this is
boy.
mine. Huh?
Yeah, then now it's Mark's. Right, we're giving everything away. To wrap up today's show, the vertical bow thing, we have tons of accessories. And then we go into tree stands. We go into the clothing lines. If you haven't come into the store recently, check it out. Mark and the guys have busted tail on the fishing and the archery and the hunting side
Looks
to
good out
make
there.
the store look phenomenal.
Great Lake stuff is just flying.
Oh, my God. Everything is just
Crazy.
flying out of the store.
Crazy.
It's nuts. So, if you can't find it here, you're just not looking hard enough. There's not much that we don't carry anymore.
Getting there.
Tree stands from River's Edge, Hawk. We got muddy stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is now we're actually getting into the elevated blind. I got to contact the guy for next week's show about having elevated blinds in here. So it's really, really cool. Mark.
I got it real quick.
Oh.
That ozone section we have.
Yeah.
Right? So just a real quick story about ozone. So we were talking about ozone.
I saw you, yeah.
Cleaning up the carpet smell. It's some musty from the summer and whatever.
Yep.
So I got this idea. My kids' football cleats are the nastiest smelling things on planet effing Earth. They are. I'm serious. You could probably kill somebody if you stuck that thing right in their face. You'd probably kill them.
Right.
So we have a tote, and my wife actually did this whole bunch of his clothes because the clothes, same thing. These kids, you got a kid in high school football, man. It's a grind, and they reek.
Yep.
And for anybody who played high school football, the locker room still smells the same 20 years later than it did when you played.
It does.
Like the locker room smells exactly the
Yep.
same, right?
Yep.
Am I wrong?
The rule is before they get in my car, they have to shower.
My cleats are in the back of my truck.
Yep.
It's because they don't have the locker room open yet, so
Yep.
I've still got to drag all that crap home. But the locker room smells the same today as it did probably when you played.
Oh,
Like
I
it
wouldn't
smells
doubt it.
exactly the same. That putrid, whatever. Well, all three didn't exist back then, so I took a tote, plastic tote, and I took his football gloves and his cleats, and I threw it in there, turned it on. I did it twice, and the smell's almost gone.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unreal how well that stuff works.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a selection of it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why every soccer mom, sports dad doesn't have that for their kids stuff.
Right.
Unless you like that smell and that's your thing. But it's
and
unbelievable. That's like a whole market that's completely untapped for that that stuff is just athletic kids.
Yep.
Stench.
Right.
You got them. You can put them in your bag. You can put them in your car.
Yep.
Closets.
I hit on it last week. Mine's always in my car. Always.
I always have mine in my car too.
Yep.
I don't leave it on all the time, but
Yep.
I have it in my car all the time.
And then it goes into the house. I mean, you got dogs, you got cats, you got
unbelievable.
you plug it into the
But
house.
I mean, literally, those shoes, you could smell them across the room. They were that bad.
Oh, yeah.
And after 1 hour, I put them in there for 1 hour. I had them up to my nose, like within. And
Really? Which
I
would have
took it-
killed you before?
Oh, I would have died. I had it up to my nose. You could still smell it. It was
Yep.
still there faintly.
Yep.
But I mean, I was like, that ain't that bad. I mean, I would have died. I would have literally not been here.
Kid, next time you experiment with this, can you just do live? Can you just go live and then, yeah, not that bad.
I don't know how to. I'm serious. It's pretty cool.
It's great stuff.
It works.
It's really, really great
I
stuff.
think everybody that travels and hunts and stuff like that, you got to have them.
Right.
Well, see, I used to think the washing machine setup was kind of like, why would you ever want that? Because for hunting clothes.
Yep.
But now I'm sitting here looking at my kids' clothes.
Yep.
I'm like, maybe that's not such a dumb idea.
Well, and plus you don't really think about it, but sometimes your water has a smell to it.
Yeah.
And now you're washing your clothes with that stuff.
That's unreal. How
I mean,
well that
you could
works.
just get crazy
I can't understand why every mom on the planet, every dad on the planet who's got kids in sports doesn't own like 3 of those. One for the car, because when they get in the car after smelling like crap at practice, I mean, or once they get in high school they can shower. Thank God.
Right.
One for the duffel bags and one for in the house.
Right. Well, and if they sell duffel bags already with the system right in it as well, and the totes and everything like that.
Oh, I mean, if you already got a bag or a duffel bag, I'm like my kids like catcher bag or whatever. If they got those little ones, you throw right in there.
Throw right in there.
Awesome.
Call it a
anyway,
day.
Sorry, that was my little commercial, but I even got my wife even liked it because my wife's got like the strongest sense of smell known to man. I don't know how she smells like. Maybe it's just a female
that's
thing.
my wife too.
Female
I
thing,
can't smell something, and she's like, "Do you smell that?" Like for an hour, and I'm just like, "I don't know what you're
my
talking
wife
about."
will smell stuff across the house. And I'm like, what? Whatever, right?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
But if she's like, that fixed it.
Neighbor had onions for dinner.
It's unbelievable.
Liver and onions. Well, cool. Okay, so now can I thank Mark for joining us?
Now we're done. I'm done.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that before I forget.
No, that's a great point. It was a great point. So,
it's not relevant
Mark,
anymore.
well, thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So then next week we will we'll have Steve. I think we might have a 2-show next week.
I think 2 shows.
2 shows next week. We're going to have Steve to finish up the wrap-up of the Whitetail catalog. Again, if you haven't picked up a copy or you haven't looked at it on the website, please do.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, please do, just to see how talented Megan is at her job. I mean, she does a phenomenal job. So at least give it a look. She likes it when the spikes on the catalog go up and
she
down.
Does.
So, but yeah, what was your comment?
I was just going to say, I was just looking at the guns in here. I was going to say, if you're in the market for a new hunting rifle this year, do yourself a favor and come talk to Steve and Mark.
Well, don't wait. Just like
that's what I'm saying. Like now,
just
do
like
it
the
now.
vertical bow thing. I mean, don't wait on the guns either.
No.
And that's even more limited on the supply than the archery stuff is.
Sometimes, there's allocated firearms out there and guns that are in short supply. So if it's something that you want and we have it.
See, I'm looking forward to
Check it
that
out.
gun show just because I love listening to Steve talk about guns.
Yeah.
He's just so passionate about guns. I learned so much. I mean, I've learned a lot about bows from Mark, but that's just the gun thing's all new to me now. I learned so much from Steve every time I talk to him about guns. It's unreal.
He is probably one of the most knowledgeable gun people I've ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of them. We're really lucky to have him here because when people walk in, and anytime you open up a business for the first time, people are wondering like, oh, okay, what kind of people do they have back there selling it? Well, take a look at what we have here. There's some pretty talented people here who are knowledgeable and passionate about what they do.
I started reading that article he sent, and I was like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Steve sent everybody an article, or majority of people an article.
Say,
It's just basically
I
proper.
forwarded it to you.
Oh,
I
you
think I
did?
did Brian. I did you, Justin, Brian, Lance, everybody that was in the meeting on
Yes,
Monday.
yeah, and I'll get it.
You're right, I did.
I'll get it to the rest of the
I'll be
staff,
honest,
but
I didn't read it.
It just basically, and Steve will talk about it more next week. But it just is proper etiquette when you're selling somebody a firearm, especially in today's world. So on that point, we're gonna leave it right there. We're gonna have a good rest of Wednesday. And then we'll see everybody back here next week, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday, one of those days.
Are we on Monday for sure or no? We don't know yet.
Well, We'll discuss that after the show.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Well, it's just based off of Steve's schedule. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's cool.
we already had him
Yep.
planned for
That's fine.
Wednesday,
And then we're doing Wednesday with Steve.
and so Mark had to accommodate the schedule for that.
Okay.
But maybe we'll do the blind guy on Monday then.
Wednesday for Steve. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.